Today's episode of nofuncity is brought to you by Roots of Fight. Check them out at rootsoffight.com and be sure to hit subscribe for your chance to win an awesome prize pack. Welcome to the nofuncity podcast, episode 8. 8 episodes in. Got some very exciting news. Actually, we got like a lot of exciting news. We're going to start with the first thing that I have to say. Number one, I got to give a shout out to Roots of Fight. If you watch my channel, you know that I did a review of this jacket that I'm wearing, this limited edition jacket. Only 100 were made. Something that I thought went wrong. Long story short, they fixed it. They not only fixed it, they went like 10 million times out of their way to do even more than that. They sent me some extra swag. Check out Roots of Fight. And they got some great clothing. On top of that, we got some more exciting news. I got an email back in December from Orangutan Wheels and Loaded Boards. As you can see, there's a long board sitting there and some wheels sitting right here. And it turns out that we are now partnering up together, hanging out, doing some stuff, and collaborating. So I'm going to be giving away a set of Kegwamas to one of my subscribers. All you have to do is comment Kegwama on any of the videos that I have up already, including this one, and 3 or 4 videos down the road. We're going to be giving this away. Also, we officially hit 200 subscribers, so I will be giving away the 10 Tree hat and the comic book launch party to one of the subscribers. That being said, the podcast made a milestone. We have not only our first female guest, but we also have our first guest that isn't directly connected to me, somebody that I don't actually know. And today we are joined by Ariane. Is your last name Seiler?
Seiler.
Seiler. Does everybody make that mistake?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My name's Mahyar, so whatever. It's difficult for people.
No, most people, yeah. Most people get my first name wrong, too.
Well, I got it wrong. No, I got your first name right.
Yeah, you got it right, yeah.
Do a lot of people say Ariana?
Sometimes, yeah, but if they see the spelling, they think it's Arian.
Oh, okay.
Because there's only one N.
Yeah.
So it confuses people a little bit. Yeah.
No, I knew it was Ariane right away.
Ariane.
Yeah.
Seiler.
And Ariane is quite the interesting individual because I consider you a female pro wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some would say maybe like amateur wrestler or what?
Well, I'm still new to it. Yeah. I would say I'm still in the beginning stages of my journey doing it. But, pro wrestler. I think that's just what you call anyone that's actively having matches.
Totally. And you have a stage name.
Yeah.
That isn't your actual name.
Correct.
Yeah. And I assume most wrestlers have that.
I think a lot of people don't go with their real name, but some people do, depending if your real name is like cool, then yeah. But mine's like a little bit too girly, I think, for wrestling.
Okay. So your stage name is Sloan.
Yeah.
Right?
Sloan.
And it seemed, I've been keeping an eye on your Instagram and sort of like, because I do a little bit of diving into the individual that I'll be talking with.
Yeah.
I try not to do too much research because I want to ask you a bunch of questions and not know the answer to them. Mm-hmm. But you went through what seems to be a bit of a transition in your character.
Oh, so many transitions already. Right? Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So before, I don't know, like it seemed like you were more, you had like the visor thing going on.
Yeah.
You had longer hair.
I had hair.
Right? You had hair. Yeah. And then what I've seen in your recent posts is it's supposed to be more of like a post-apocalyptic kind of...
Oh, no. That's like, those are, you're referencing my Furiosa look. That's like for like a specific show. Yeah. Okay. So Sloan is not that.
Okay.
So like that particular show was like a futuristic themed wrestling show. So like you weren't your actual character. You got like put in like a themed match.
Okay.
So it was a Mad Max themed match and I was Furiosa. So that whole look was not my actual look.
Forget this girly look. I'm going all like hardcore. And
no,
this is over.
No, no. I just I switched up my look. I've switched it up a few times because like you're just trying to figure out what feels right, what feels like you. But I just debuted like my new look, which is like a snakeskin gear.
Okay.
With this jacket I'm wearing, actually.
Yeah. I noticed that jacket.
Yeah.
I recognize it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really... Here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's what's super interesting, other than the fact that you are a pro wrestler, is like, how does a female or, anyone in general suddenly have the urge to become a wrestler? Because it's kind of, let's be honest, it's kind of obscure to be like, I'm going to jump off ropes, and do these, like, I don't know, acrobatic type of moves and get into wrestling. And it's kind of also something that, I mean, it's not taboo, but it's maybe not taken as seriously as other art forms, so to speak. Right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand it. If you don't understand it, it's really hard to, like, understand why someone would want to do it.
Yeah. So let's start
there.
Well, let's start with, how this all began. And I mean, we all go back to your childhood, because I know that that's where it started. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Ariane, who are you?
What do you mean?
Who are you?
What do you mean?
In the video in the documentary Brawlin,
your
mom seems to ask you who you are when you were a kid.
I said I was the Rock.
That's right.
I'm the Rock, yeah. Wrestling was always on when I was, like, I remember, like, being, from the moment I can remember, like, it was just always on. When I was really, really young, it actually scared me. Like, I wasn't, but my dad was such a big fan that it was just always on in the house. But I remember the moment I was like, oh, this is my thing. It was, I turned on the TV and The Rock was cutting a promo. Wasn't even a match. Like, he was just talking shit.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is my thing. This is what I like. Yeah.
And how old were you at that point?
I was like 8 or 9, I think. Okay. Yeah.
So just like that was it as far as watching it, or that was it as far as this is what I want to do?
As far as me being, like, obsessed with it, I think, I can't remember, like, it might have even been that moment where I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. But when you're that young, you don't really think of, like, oh, this is what I want to do, right? Like, you've got little kid brain. But at some point, I just remember being like, oh, no, I'm going to be a wrestler. Like, I just thought that. And I felt that way until I was, like, 15.
Okay.
And I watched it religiously. Like, I would be really upset if I missed anything. And my parents wouldn't pay for any of the pay-per-views.
Okay.
But my dad got it, like, with his, like, antennas or whatever, and I watched it on this, like, tiny little screen in black and white with no sound.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then when I was, like, 15, The Rock wasn't wrestling anymore, and Stone Cold wasn't wrestling anymore, and wrestling just sort of, like, changed a little bit. And the girls weren't really wrestling anymore. Like, or at least they weren't really, like, taken seriously. Like, it was lots of bra and panty matches, and, like, they were mostly, like, eye candy and not, like, serious, like, athletic women. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So I stopped wanting to do it. And I didn't think about it again. Plus, I had nobody in my life other than my dad that thought it was, like, a viable option for me. You know what I mean? So I was just like, yeah, I guess it was, like, a crazy little kid dream.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Vancouver, because I'm from Nanaimo. Moved to Vancouver, and I started working at the Comedy Mix. And I was around, like, live performance every single night. And I just felt like, man, like, I feel like I need to find what my thing is. And wrestling just kept popping back into my head. And then it started, like, showing up in my day, like, just here and there. Like, I just started, like, seeing it more. And I was like, man, I feel like this is something I have to do.
Yeah.
And my friend at the time was dating a wrestler. And so she kind of, like, knew how to, like, get that started. I went to a ECCW show and just, like, introduced myself. And then they sent me an email telling me when there would be, like, a tryout, and went to the tryout, and yeah. Nice. Here I am.
That's awesome. So how long ago was that?
That was, I was 24 25 or 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did your love for watching wrestling come back during that time, or was it just fixation on
the past?
Yeah.
Definitely I get most of my like inspiration from the past. I still watch stuff from here and there, but the stuff I like is like the stuff from the past.
Okay.
For sure.
So who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Well, when I was a kid, it was The Rock.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely was The Rock. I was obsessed. But then when I started wrestling and like rewatching everything, I changed to Stone Cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
What caused that change?
Just because I felt like I wanted my style of wrestling to be more like Stone Cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never considered that, like your style of wrestling.
Yeah.
So there are styles of wrestling.
Yeah.
Because I kind of just assume it's kind of like everyone doing the same thing.
No, because not everyone's capable of doing the same thing.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah. Or looks good doing the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying about how you fell out of love with watching it, totally same thing happened to me. Like, I used to watch wrestling all the time when I was a kid. Then, like, I think it was when I was, like, early teens, like, maybe, like, 14 or 13. I noticed the same thing as you. It got, like, raunchy almost. It got, like, trashy raunchy. I'm talking WWE.
But I think that I still watched it when it was raunchy.
Okay, yeah, no, I gave up on it at that point.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not the same. Like, this is not, like, what... I guess, like, maybe it was part of nostalgia for me. Like,
right.
Where... Yeah, the things that were happening were too over the top for me.
Right.
Where I was just like, this isn't even the same shit I was watching before. So I kind of like lost down. It was around the time that it was like The Rock and Stone Cold had already been established at that point. But I would watch it via, we had a black box. Mm-hmm. So we would get free pay-per-view.
Okay.
Free whatever. So I would watch all the pay-per-views for free. And I had friends who'd be like my friend Mark, shout out Mark Wilson, he loved WWE, and I would record the pay-per-view and then bring it to him at school like the next day or whatever, because I knew he would, so he was like a huge fan of that. But yeah, I lost interest in wrestling essentially at that point. Was when it just got a little too crazy.
Or I mean, for me it was mostly like the women were just there to look good, and I was like, it's not, I wanted to be The Rock. Like, that was what I wanted to be, right?
Yeah.
So it just wasn't, and it just wasn't as entertaining as it was for me at a certain point. Plus I didn't have any friends that watched it with me. I had one friend that would watch it here and there with me, but like overall I didn't really have any friends that were into it. So it's like I'm the only one kind of like obsessed with this thing. I have no one to like share it with. It just like petered out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was sad though. I remember when I was like, oh my God, I'm like falling out of love with wrestling. Like I remember it being like a sad thing for me. I was like, man, this sucks. I gave it like more time. I gave it more time than I should have. It was just like I didn't want to like stop loving it, but at some point there was just no denying that it was not the same thing.
Yeah. Little did you know that you didn't want to watch wrestling, you wanted to perform.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I had no idea that this is what was going to happen at all. Like if you had asked me when I was like 19 or 20, like, oh, you actually are going to start wrestling, I would have been like, no. Like I would have not thought it was going to happen at all.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. So you get into it, and I assume at that point it's just more like, I don't know, kind of like how somebody would go learn MMA, or you know what I mean, like join a boxing gym or something. Was it something that right away you were taking seriously, or it was something you were doing as a hobby at that point?
I took it seriously right away. But I don't think anyone can prepare you for what that means.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I first started training, it's a bit of a wake-up call because, like, you watch wrestling and you see it, but then you're told it's fake and all this stuff and it's scripted or whatever. But then when you actually start doing it and you realize like, this actually does hurt. Yeah. I went home, I think like the first like 3 months, I would go home from training and cry every single time.
Emotionally or from pain?
Because I was like, I can't believe that this is how this actually feels. And now I'm emotionally invested in it. Okay. And so it's like this thing that you have to, it's like a battle between it's like there's a battle going on in your brain because your body's like, what are you doing? But then your heart's like, no, we're going to keep doing this. So it's like a constant battle. Yeah. Yeah.
And you never gave up.
No. Eventually, like, you get used to it. I wouldn't say it hurts any less, but it's just like the shock is not there anymore.
Okay. Another question I had that kind of, I guess, it probably affected throughout your life is how would it change the dynamic of your relationships and family and friends? Like, how do family and friends react to, I'm going to be a pro wrestler?
Well, my mom, when I was a kid, my mom was like not, stoked about that idea that I wanted to be a wrestler. My dad was all for it. He was 100% all for it. Yeah. And when I started training, he was all for it. My mom just like she's a mom, so she's like worried constantly that I'm gonna get hurt. Like after every single match I have, I text her, I'm alive. And if I don't text her, she won't stop bugging me until I respond. Yeah, I mean, I think most people weren't surprised because I knew that's like something I wanted to do when I was younger, so it wasn't like way out of left field or anything. Yeah. And I think my personality kind of like makes sense for it, so it wasn't like a shock to anyone. I think mostly like I have family members that are like, ooh, like that's so hard on your body or that, but like I'd say I get the weirdest reaction from strangers. Like if I meet someone if I just meet someone and then I say I'm a wrestler, I get either like the response like, oh my God, that's so cool. And they have all these questions and they want to like share their love of wrestling or what they thought about it growing up or whatever. Or you have people who like have no idea what that even means. Yeah. And so like I've had like people be like mud wrestling or like, I'm like, no, not like mud wrestling. Like they'll just, people don't know how to take it, especially if they don't know anything about it. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like a weird thing to them. They're like, what? I don't even know what that means.
So what about like relationships? Because I could imagine that like as a guy dating a girl who's a pro wrestler, that's kind of intimidating, right?
Well, at the time, before I was in a relationship before I got into it. Okay. And so I was already in a relationship when I started. And so he was all for it. Like he thought it was, so he kind of was there at the beginning stages. So it wasn't such a like shock because it was like, like he never had an issue with that. Now that I'm single and anytime I like go on a date with a guy or like meet a guy, it is a little bit strange because they're like, it's almost like they want to know that they're still stronger than me in some way.
But they're not.
No. So that becomes a topic for sure. That we're like, they want to know that they could still. I don't know what that's about.
That's hilarious. So does that happen like every time usually?
It's happened every time so far, but I haven't been single for very long.
I'd be like, yeah, my girl can kick ass. She could kick my ass too. Like you could save me from some, like dude. Like I don't know, robbing me or something. Like, get him, please. Don't hurt me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't been single for very long, so we'll see.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite wrestling move?
Oh God.
Right?
I don't think I have one.
Oh, come on. Everyone has a favorite
No, I
move.
don't think I have one. I like a bunch. I like power moves. Okay. Yeah, I like power move. Where you pick someone up and like a power move. Okay.
So you like what's it called?
Any kind of suplexes or
move?
the tombstone.
The tombstone. Would that be considered a power move, or it's because it's not lifting them over your head?
Kinda. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, if you're lifting someone and putting them down, it's a power move. Yeah, yeah. That's legit. So I would say anything like that, I'm down for.
Do you have a finishing move?
Right now I don't even have a name for it though.
What's the name?
It's Beth Phoenix did it as her finisher. And she called it the Glam Slam because she was the Glamazon. That was her thing.
Okay.
But I don't even know what the technical term is for it. But it's basically like, oh man, it's so hard to explain. I'm like behind them and I have their arms like behind their back.
Like
I lift.
Full Nelson?
No, like their arms are like this.
Okay, yeah.
And then I have like that, and then I bring them up, and then I sit down with it, so it's like a face. They face plant, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just call it the face plant.
The face plant, yeah.
The face plant. It's fine.
Yeah.
For now, you may as well. You need to have a name for it.
I know, no. But I just started really figuring out who the hell Sloan is anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll come.
So, who the hell is Sloan?
I think it's like the best way to describe it, or where I'm trying to take it is like, kind of like you've watched Fight Club, obviously.
Yeah.
So kind of like a mix between Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt's character in Fight Club, and Cruella de Vil. Because she's always laughing, and I've like found that I'm like starting to like laugh in my matches a lot when I'm like, if I'm up and because I'm generally the heel, like I'm generally the bad guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're a good bad guy though.
I'm a good bad guy.
I'm gonna call it. You're a good bad guy. You know the bad guy you want to win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there are bad guys who want to win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And at every point, to be quite honest, I find
they switch at some point. But I mean, like, as a bad guy, you want to be getting booed.
Then he became like,
But that's because the fans were like, we like this bad guy, and so they had to like turn him into a good guy.
Yeah. Same with The Rock, though.
Yeah, same with The Rock, yeah.
Same with Triple H, I would say.
No, he's always a bad guy.
Really?
Yeah.
But wasn't he part of, like, Degeneration X?
Yeah, during that. But, like, he's mostly, if you look at his career, he's mostly just been a bad guy.
Yeah, but a beloved bad guy. You know what I mean? It's a guy you want to
But if you're getting booed, like, the whole goal is, like, you need to get booed.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So you want to get booed. You don't want the cheers.
If I'm a bad guy, I need to get booed.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What happens if you get the cheers, though? Do you feel like you didn't?
Then I got to do something to get booed.
Dang, that's hard. I figured it's just like fair game. If they like you, they like you, and if they don't, they don't. And if you want to be bad, you can be bad, and if you want to be good, you can be good. And it's just kind of like this roller coaster of going.
Well, I think that wrestling now, it's like a little bit. There's a lot more gray area.
Yeah. Because
people are just gonna cheer for whoever they like most, and sometimes you just can't gauge that.
Totally.
Because wrestling's not the same as it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you're a bad guy, you generally want to get booed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just didn't see it being that way. I thought, like, I know there's bad and good, but I thought, like, it was just however you are perceived by the audience is kind of like what you're.
No, it's
totally.
It's all part of the plan.
Okay. Speaking about part of the plan.
Okay.
How do you coordinate the matches? Like, do you go in knowing who's going to win, who's going to lose, every move that you're going to make? Or is it kind of just all freestyle and you might win, they might win, but it just depends on how it plays out?
The results are predetermined.
Okay.
But how we get there is not something I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think, like...
Why?
I just don't... I don't want to be the one. Yeah, I don't want to be the one to like explain how we get there. You know, the results are predetermined, and there's a formula.
Okay, but is there any warm up before, like a practice or a chat between you and the other fighter? Like, yo, I'm gonna do this at this point. You make sure you get ready for this move.
There's points of the match that are freestyle, and there's points of the match that are not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I assume the parts where you're doing the more elaborate stuff are the parts that are not. or that are not freestyle.
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like anything goes.
It's just like there's a formula, and yeah, you just get creative with the formula.
Okay, I won't pick it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
The results are predetermined. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's funny.
I'm not gonna be the one.
So give me a day in training at least. Like, what does that look like?
There is a lot of we do drills basically. Lots of drills. We do like drills where you're doing like the freestyle sort of stuff so that you know what to do when you actually get in there. And it's like you know, it's we start out with rolls and like body control stuff, because it's a lot of flexibility and core strength, and like when I first started training, I thought I was already fit, and I was like, I'm not fit. Like, I was nowhere near where I wanted to be, and it was way harder than you could ever imagine. You know, you do a lot of moves in training to make sure that everybody's doing stuff safely and nobody's dropping anybody on anybody's head, and you get, I
hear you. Okay, so how many hours does one train a day for this kind of stuff?
Well, when you start out, it's a more consistent thing for sure. Because in order to like get any good, you have to like do it consistently. Mm-hmm. But then when you actually start having matches, that becomes your training, because it's a totally different experience being in training and then being on a show. Like, it's just two different experiences. Yeah. So yeah, once you get to that point, it's still important to like go to training, but it's more important to get as many matches as you can to build up that experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you go? You start training, you by luck or by whatever networking, you get hooked up into, I guess, the wrestling scene.
Yeah.
Then how do you get your first match?
Well, I got my first match, so I've been training probably like 7 or 8 months, and the first match I got was because somebody backed out of a show, and I was training with ECCW at the time, and they needed a girl for a match, and I was the only viable option at that point, so that's how I got my first match.
So did somebody contact you, or you just happened to be at the event?
No. One of the trainers, Nicole Matthews, she was like, "Oh, you're gonna have a match this weekend." I was like, "Okay, cool, sweet." Yeah.
So who is your first match against?
It was actually a tag match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was me tagged up with this girl, Violet, who doesn't wrestle anymore.
Okay.
Versus Nicole Matthews, and I actually forget this girl's name, but she also doesn't wrestle anymore. Okay. Yeah.
And did you win?
No.
Okay. You
That was my first match. And Nicole Matthews is a great wrestler, so. Yeah.
Okay, fair. So what's ECCW? ECCW?
Yeah.
Is, like, how many wrestling, like, conglomerations are there?
In Vancouver?
I guess in I don't
in
know.
General, I wouldn't be able to count.
Oh, there's like hundreds or something.
Oh yeah, there's like a lot. There's a lot. Yeah. In Vancouver, there's 2 main ones, and then there's a third one, but they don't run very often. And then there's like one-off shows.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I'd say there's 2 main ones.
Okay, so these 2 main ones, are they prominent in North America or just in Vancouver?
Just in Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So where else do you go? I mean, you told me I think you had gone to Chicago just recently. Yeah,
but that was like not. I wasn't like booked to be on a show there. They were running it was like an all-female promotion, and they were running a seminar with Gail Kim, who's like one of the best female wrestlers of all time.
Okay.
So you pay to be on the seminar. And if you're lucky, they pick you to be on the show, like the pre-show, like not part of the actual.
Like preliminary.
Yeah. Just to get your face out there, really. Just, it's exposure. That's what you're gaining from it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went there, do the seminar. I was there all weekend. There were shows all weekend. And I got on the Friday show.
Okay.
Yeah. Part of a battle royale. So in and out, super quick.
Nice. And you also go to LA, I think?
I've been there once when I filmed the documentary.
Okay.
That was like the end of... Yeah, that was like the last...
Part of it.
Yeah.
I assume LA, or at least California, would be quite prominent in having a big scene there for...
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Honestly, there's wrestling all over.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So isn't it a little bit... chaotic as far as how you could work your way? Because I mean, I don't want to say, because we talk about this off air, I don't want to say that the end goal is for you to get to the WWE.
Yeah.
But like, I would assume for the most part, a lot of these wrestlers want to go from their backyard brawls or whatever they have to, you know what I mean, right?
Well, the independent scene is growing. It's like really, and the WWE is not the end all be all anymore.
Yeah.
I don't really have a goal in terms of where I want to end up. I know that I just want to, my main goal is just to get as many matches as I can get. That's like the main goal. Okay. And to get good at it. Get good at wrestling and have matches and see, like, wherever that takes me, that's where I'll be going.
So if it does take you to the WWE, you
can
go there.
If that's where it takes me, cool.
Vince McMahon. I'm telling you, you're probably not watching this, but you never know. Somebody who knows him might be. And if you are, hit him up, send him here. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit because you mentioned the documentary and most people probably don't know what you're talking about. So you were part of a documentary. It was a mini documentary, like I think it
was 10 minutes long.
You can find it on YouTube. I'll put the video in the description below. I've popped the trailer on some of my social media called Brawlin. And that's actually how I got connected with you, was because the two individuals who made it, Danny and Ryan, who are part of Black Rhino Creative, who make amazing videos in general. Ryan and I used to do a series together called Design to Speak. And without him, I would not have done any video at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like I owe Ryan big when it comes to like me getting into filming in general. But yeah, so you did a documentary called Brawlin with them. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a bit about that. How did that come about?
Well, they were wanting to do a documentary about the indie wrestling scene in Vancouver. That was like their main idea. And they met me in the process, and I just told them my story of like how I got into it and me wanting to do it as a kid, and they just were like, I think we just want to make this about you. And I was like, okay. So that's how that got started.
And then how long did they film for? What was the process?
We started filming in December. Yeah, we started filming in December, I think.
Okay.
Of 2016. And then I think the last thing we shot was end of April 2017. That would be like 5 months? 6 months, maybe? It was like 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
No.
Right? So
it was pretty consistent, though.
Is there more to the story now that's developed since?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm in a completely different space than I was then. Because okay, so before I filmed it all, I went and I trained with Lance Storm in the summer of 2016. Before I went out there, I was on a show where I was I was like supposed to get ambushed on my way to the ring. So I wasn't even having a match. I was just getting ambushed on my way to the ring. I ended up getting like a really bad concussion, and I didn't tell anyone. And I flew out to Calgary the next morning at like 6 a.m. with like a really bad concussion. I didn't know that at the time. I knew something was wrong, but I'd never had anything like that happen to me before. And it was just like so much happening. I was moving to Calgary for 3 months, And, but yeah, so I trained with Lance Storm. He did, like, the first day, he said, if you have a concussion, you have to tell me. And I never, he was like, if you hit your head in training, like, I need to know, blah, blah, blah. But I was just sitting there like, nope, not going to say a thing. Because at the time, I really didn't know. Yeah. And I actually don't even think I really clued in until I got home. I knew something was wrong, but I also thought like, oh, I'm also in this new place where I'm alone and I'm in this new city. I don't have that many people out here. So I also thought it was just like growing pains of being in a new place because I had like physical symptoms from the concussion for like 3 weeks, but then I had like mental symptoms for like a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that was what was happening until I got home and nothing changed, and I was like, oh.
So did you like look into getting better, or did you just keep?
I kept going. So I got home from Lance Storm's at the end of July 2016, and I kept wrestling. I just kept wrestling, and then Ryan and Danny approached me in like October or November. Mm-hmm. So, and then I just had the whole filming experience, but I kept getting hurt in every match, like slightly hurt. And so I had like an issue so I was concussed, had an issue with my neck, had an issue with my shoulder. I got bent in half one match, like that way. And I just was like, once that happened, I was like, I need to take some time off. But I was like in the middle of filming, like with these guys. So I was like, it was a really messed up situation because I was like, I didn't even know if I wanted to wrestle anymore. Meanwhile, I'm filming this documentary about how I'm wanting to be a wrestler. It was like, it was hard. It was really hard to like go through that because it was just like, I don't even know if I want to do this. And this is like being filmed about me.
So did you take the time off or did you?
I did like, so at the end of the documentary, it says that I'm taking time off because I never said anything about the concussion in the documentary because I was like, I have more knowledge about it looking back at it now than I did at the time.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to like get into it, but yeah, no, I should have like taken time off immediately when I was concussed. Like that was what I should have done, but I was so new and naive to what that was doing to my mental state. Like I hit right here, like right where my hairline is. Okay. And but I had so much adrenaline running through me at the time, like I didn't know what was what. And the best way I could describe like what that night was like for me was like, you know those scenes in a movie where like there's like a person like standing still and there's all this movement.
Yeah.
You know, that's what was going on for me. Like I felt like I was moving in slow motion and everything was just like so chaotic and like moving so fast and I like could not catch my bearings at all. And then I was on a plane the next morning. It was like it was so bad. It was really crazy, yeah.
Yeah, that is insane.
And then I trained 5 days a week for 3 months with that, yeah.
Jeez. Oh, man. Okay, so the documentary finishes. Then what happens? And then you stopped for a while, obviously.
I stopped for a while, yeah.
Again?
Initially, I really thought that I wasn't wanting to do it. You know, I was like, I'm going to take a break, because I physically needed to. And then once like everything, you know, was healed and I was physically fine, I just still felt like, wow, like I didn't realize how much of a mental break I needed from all this. Like, and I took 8 months off. So like the first like few months were like, okay, I don't think I want to be a wrestler anymore. And then I would say like, yeah, like 4 months into time off, I was like, oh shit, I still want to be a wrestler. Like I still want to wrestle. Like I was like, oh God. It was like, oh man, now I have to like figure out a way to get myself back into it. Yeah, so I took 8 months off and yeah, and then I started training again and it was a completely different experience this time. I just needed that time off. I just needed that time off. That's really what it was. Yeah.
You know, I think that goes for, I mean, any sport.
Yeah.
You know, you even see it, I mean, I'm a huge UFC fan. You even see it in that. Like, fighters get injured, and then they just decide they're like, I'm not going to fight injured because it's just going to make me more injured and worse. So they take, like, even a year, 2 years off sometimes, and then they come back. You don't realize how quickly that 2 years will pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, the 8 months went by like that. Like,
yeah.
I needed all that time for sure. Because I remember the first time I went back to training, I was like, oh, I'm not ready for this. Like, I remember I took like an extra month after that.
Okay.
Because I was like, I went and I was like, okay, I dipped my toes back in, but I still need some more time. And it was like another month, and then I got back into it. I was like, okay, I'm ready for this.
Okay. What about, like, I mean, I don't want to say girls get catty. You know what I mean? But, like, I assume that there's, like, a support system in place as far as, like, friends within the industry. But is there also, like, a bit of, I don't know, like, friction between other females performers? Because, like,
I wouldn't say it's just a girls thing. I think it's just like this, but it happens in like life, you know. And I think like something I wasn't really prepared, because like I think that I look a certain way, but I'm actually not that way. But then I get perceived how I look, and so I get like that initial judgment, and it's really hard for me to break through that judgment with people. And I'm not someone that like is going to force myself on some people, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm not gonna do everything I can to get you to like me. It's just not who I am.
So what do you mean? How do you think you look or are perceived? What do you mean? We're diving deep.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if you, especially in the entertainment business, like if you come in and you're new and you already look like you're supposed to be there, it pisses people off a little bit.
Okay.
And even if you're like I'm not, like I'm super chill. I'm not like trying to step on anyone's toes. Like I'm just there to like have fun and wrestle and learn and like have a good time. But I think like everyone's got their own stuff going on inside, right? So I've just had to learn like, okay, if that person's like being weird to me, like that's whatever's going on for them, not me. I'm not doing anything.
Totally.
To like, yeah. But I think it's just, it takes a while for people to be like, oh, okay, Ariane's not. I don't know what they think. I just know that people are cold to me, and then eventually they aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just takes some time for people to like warm up.
Totally. Yeah, I get that. I actually gotta give you props for being the first female guest, because you're not the first female I've asked.
Oh, really?
But I'm happy this worked out perfectly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I got like a female that's super empowering and awesome.
Sweet.
But I asked a few females to be on the podcast, and they said initially they were like, yeah, send me the info, and then kind of just like, no, right? And I asked one of them, who's a close friend of mine, because she was kind of like, not a last resort, but kind of like, you know, I can't get other females. Would you come on? You know, maybe it'll encourage the other ones on. She's like, no, blah, 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 blah. And she explained to me, she's like, I don't like the way I sound.
What?
Like, but then I realized that's a thing. And they're self-conscious about, like, how they sound or how they may be perceived.
Right,
you know,
okay,
on camera or whatever.
Yeah.
So it totally makes sense. Like, I get it. Guys were way easier. I could, like, left, right, center, I could use it. Only, like, 2 people said no to me, and it was because, like, they just weren't down. Like, it's not something they were into.
Right.
One was supposed to be running for city council, and I kind of just wanted to get that perspective, but it didn't pan out. Like, they just kind of let it go. So that worked out in its own sense. But for the most part, I find guys are totally gung-ho about it. Females are a lot, like, I have to put in a bit more work and sort of explain things a bit more for them so that they're more at ease, I guess.
Yeah, I think I've gotten myself to a point where like I really don't care if people, like I'm I've been through so much in the last 10 years of my life that, like, I just don't care how I come across. Like, I know who I am, and if people see me, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Like, I'm
the same way.
Yeah.
I had a friend ask me, like, why are you doing a podcast? Or, like, why are you doing a YouTube channel? Not in a condescending way or whatever.
But just, like, why?
But kind of like, like, you're not, like, I'm not Joe Rogan or some famous person.
Anyone can do a podcast.
It's true, but is anybody going to listen to that podcast? But it turns out people do listen to my podcast because the stats, like, show that to me. The analytics in the back end show that to me. But I didn't do the podcast in general for other people. I kind of did it, like, it's something I enjoy to do. It's something, personally, and I think this is where you and I relate together, is that you have heart towards something that you're passionate about that maybe not everybody understands, but you do it anyway. Yeah. And it's not something that makes you money. Podcasting doesn't, it kind of just started to make me some cash.
But it takes a while to get there.
I mean, I've been making videos for like a couple of years consistently, and, it's...
Yeah, wrestling has not paid a single bill so far.
So you do it out of love.
Totally,
Yeah, and it was the same for me, and I explained to this person, I'm like, well, I don't do it because I plan to get famous or have the #1 iTunes podcast. I do it because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
but if that happens one day, I'm not going to be against
exactly.
it.
That's not the goal.
That's not the goal.
That's not my goal. My goal literally is to just be good at wrestling. That is the #1 goal.
Yeah, right now my #1 goal, and this is actually why. If you look here, see how it says number 8.
Yeah.
But do you see how there's 2 zeros, double zeros? I did that intentionally. Because I want to make sure I hit 100 podcasts.
So it's like a little bit of like an incentive.
Yeah, it's like you can't have 08, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do the 008 and get your ass to 100.
Yeah.
Right? So that's literally why I did that. That serves no other purpose why there's 2 zeros there other than the fact that I want to get to 100 podcasts minimum.
Yeah. No,
right?
that's,
We'll see,
man.
We'll see how
You'll do it. You'll do it. You'll do it for sure.
The thing is, though, I don't do the podcast too consistently. Like, I don't do them not consistently, but they're fed between my other videos, right? So it's like 1 or 2 a month. It's not like a Joe Rogan
weekly.
Where it's weekly or whatever. It's kind of just whenever it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully down the road it gets there. But that being said, so like there's that maybe clashing support system where people don't appreciate you coming in as this newbie, or maybe even like what you're doing or whatever, but then there's the support system of people who do appreciate what you do.
Well, I wasn't like welcomed into the wrestling community like with open arms or anything, but eventually, like, now it's a completely different story. Now I totally, I'm part of the Vancouver world of wrestling. It just took a while to get there, but yeah, no, I it's a completely different experience than it was at the beginning. It's just, you just gotta power through. And, if you're a good person and you're just, there to have fun and you're there for the right reasons, people are going to respond to that eventually.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I learned is it's not always the support system is not always the people closest to you or your friends and family.
Yeah. No, my mom, my mom is not, like, she has not, she's supportive, but she doesn't, like, she's made it clear she doesn't want me to wrestle.
Yeah.
She even, like, tried to pay me to stop once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would have taken that. Wait, was it like a good amount? Or
no, it was not. No.
Okay.
No, it was like, no, it was, she couldn't have paid me to stop. Like, it would have always bothered me. It's like one of those things where that's why I started wrestling again, because I was like, if I don't, I'm going to regret it. Yeah. When I'm older, I'm going to regret it. And I have to, like, see it through. Like, eventually I'll know when, my journey is done with wrestling, but that's just not now. And I got to keep going with it.
Totally. I've only ever had one regret in life, but that taught me always to just to live with no regrets anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, because here's the thing. You could always do something, then stop doing it. But you can't not do, like, you're always going to, like, not do something and then wonder if you had done it, what would have happened.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, you could wrestle, I could do the podcast, And after 100 podcasts, I could stop doing it and feel okay with like, okay, I could let this go. I kind of don't want to do it anymore. I fell out of love with it, or I've done what I wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Same with you. But if we don't do this, and then like I'm 80 or however years old, like 50, I'm thinking back like, dang, you know, I should have pushed that a bit more. I should have done that or tried it at least, right?
Oh man, that was my thing. Like, you know, when I started to get like the itch to start wrestling again, I was like, if I didn't jump back in, I was like, is that my wrestling story? Because it didn't end well, you know, it did not. I was like, is that where it ends? Because if that's where it ends, that sucks, and that's not something I'm gonna look back on and feel like good about.
Totally.
And so I was like, I gotta change that story. And so it's been completely different this time around. And the biggest lesson in all of it for me is like, you are the only person standing in your way.
That's true.
In terms of like accomplishing anything. Like, even if it doesn't look like that, it is like that.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that.
Totally.
I don't think anybody else gets in the way more than the individual.
Oh, for sure. And but like for me, if you had told me that, like around the time that I was filming the documentary, I would have been like, no, like I would have not agreed with that. Because it just doesn't look like that all the time. But really at the end of the day, it is, you're standing in your own way for sure. Yeah.
Self-support is huge.
Oh, big time.
Supporting yourself.
Big time.
Yeah, that's a huge one. The same friend I was talking to, because we were talking about just in general, like who watches the podcast, like blah, 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 blah. And quickly I realized that it's not people in my immediate circle. So even though I post it on my personal channels and stuff, it's not people I know that watch my podcast.
Yeah.
Like, unless they're actually interested in the individual. It's mainly the people who I'm interviewing. It's like their circle.
Oh, yeah.
But then also, it's this global community.
Right.
Which I didn't realize was like the major support system. So it's like, in your case, it would be that community of the audience that comes to your shows, people you don't know. Like, people you actually don't know tend to be more supportive than the people that you do know. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, like, I'd say, you know, most of my friends have not come to a show. I've had, like, maybe, like, a friend's come to, like, one or something. My mom's probably been to the most, like, surprisingly, out of everybody. But that's because I do shows in Nanaimo, and so like it's right there. Okay. You know, she'd be crazy not to. But yeah, like my dad's only been to one show, and he's like a huge supporter. Like he loves wrestling, and he loves that I, you know, following it. It's just for someone to like invest their time and actually like traveling to be at a show that I'm at, it's just, you know, it doesn't really happen. Totally. They're like, oh yeah, it's cool that you wrestle, but you know, I'm busy too. You know. Yeah. Yeah.
So going back on regrets, do you have any regrets?
Ooh, no, I don't think so. I think like I'm a big believer in everything, you know, unfolding the way that it needs to. Like I don't, you know, I look back on my whole wrestling journey and everything kind of makes sense. Like the way I started to where I'm at now, like it's all kind of unfolding the way it should be unfolding, you know. And there's some pretty dark moments there for sure. But yeah, no, it all had to happen that way for me to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in these smaller circuits, are there like championship belts?
Yeah, there's belts for every promotion, yeah.
And then if you win one, do you get to A, keep it? And then B, do you have to defend that title?
Yeah, you don't get to keep it.
Oh.
I'm like it's your. I mean, I think when you work for like the WWE, you get to have one, but like when it's a smaller promotion, they don't just have a bunch of belts. You know, belts are expensive to make.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So like you have it for the night, you give it back.
Some promotions let you travel with it, but then eventually you have to defend. Yeah. But some don't. They have to keep it with them because they are expensive.
And these smaller promotions, is it well organized in the sense that like, because like now, I mean, for example, I'll use the UFC for example. Like you see a lot of people like they're a champion, but then they get injured, or then they've gotten a suspension or whatever. So then they just constantly are getting the title taken away, and then we have an interim champion or what have you. So is it very common for wrestlers to win that title and then come back and defend it, or does it seem like there's more of a consistency if someone wins the title but then they're not available? So
no, it's always like you got like a roster of wrestlers, and so like most promotions, like if you're the champion, then you're gonna be on their shows consistently.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, no, they're not like, unless you get injured. But if you're champion, like you're on the show, you're on every show. Yeah. So for the most part.
How long till you become champion?
Oh God. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Like, how is that how does that dynamic work? Like, how do you go?
You just got to put in the time. You got to put in the time, and sometimes you get lucky. Okay. Sometimes, well, I wouldn't even say lucky. Like, it's all a politic game a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you just have to put in the time, and eventually, like, yeah, it just
works out.
You work to that point.
Okay, so that being said, I had another question and I lost my train of thought, but I have it here.
You asked me when I'm going to be champion.
No, I know, but there was some, oh yeah, what's your favorite type of match?
Favorite type of match?
Yeah. Ladder match, tag team.
Oh, no, I just like singles. Like, I'm
okay.
I'm big in the singles matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you did do a tag team match.
I've done a couple tags. Yeah. Yeah, I've done like a fatal 4-way where it's like 4 single people, all, you know.
Yeah.
I just did like a 6-woman match not too long ago. Yeah, but I'd say like no, my favorite to watch and to be a part of is just a singles match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I'd have to say that my favorite matches have always been the Royal Rumbles.
Oh, really?
I mean, this is like WWE. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta love that shit.
Yeah. No, I've been a part of a couple of those. Yeah.
Every single one of your favorite wrestlers is in there. You don't know who's gonna win. You don't know what's gonna happen.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Right. The one thing, Royal Rumble though, like I mean, I've been watching forever. That's the one where they still come out one by one though.
Yeah. Right? So I think like the
Battle Royale is
where they're all at once.
Yeah.
So Royal Rumble, you come out like every whatever, like 90 seconds or something.
That's bullshit. That's not fair.
What do you mean?
Because like the first guy in is going to be in there the longest. He's going to tire out the quickest, and he's going to have more odds of getting tossed out. The last guy in is like totally favorable because like you still have all your energy. You haven't broken a sweat. Half the guys might already be tossed out. You know what I mean? I just don't see how that's fair.
I don't know if wrestling's meant to be fair.
Still. This is like me pretending wrestling's real at this point. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fixed.
Yeah.
But that's when I was a kid. That's what I never
understood.
So then,
because when you're a kid, you think this shit is real.
Exactly. Oh, that brings me to another question. Okay. At what point did you realize wrestling was not real?
I always knew that it wasn't real because my mom would always remind me, but I didn't know what that meant. When you're a kid, you don't know what that means. So I understood that it wasn't real, whatever that meant, but I didn't understand how or why or what. Like, it just, you know, I was so invested that like to me it was real. And even though she was like in my ear telling me that it was fake, I still was like, I'm not gonna believe you, you know, like I'm just gonna enjoy this. But no, it wasn't until like I started wrestling that I actually knew how it worked, and it blew my mind. Like it's so complicated, and there's a lot of thought that goes into it. Like it's detailed, and
So is it more of a sport or more of an art? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I totally know what you're saying.
Because obviously, like, I mean, even in Brawlin, we see you're training, you're working out, you're doing all these things. But is it more of an art form, like theatrics, or does it seem to be...
I think it depends who you are as a wrestler. Like, I think that there are wrestlers who are not athletes. And so I would say that they, like, rely on the theatrics of it way more for, like, their style of what they do, like, what their character is. And, But then, like, other wrestlers would be like, oh, they're athletes, right? So I think it's like there's all kinds, you know what I mean? Like, I think that some people would say art and some people would say it's a sport. It just depends who you are as a wrestler, what your style is, like all of that. I'd say I'm kind of in the middle. Yeah, because like to me, I'm a fan of people who can do stuff in the ring. Like there's got to be that athletic aspect to it for me. That's my take on it. Yeah.
A lot of wrestlers, I can't say a lot, but I'd say like a handful that are at least in the WWE come from like a wrestling or martial arts background. I think like Ken Shamrock, for example, Kurt Angle maybe is another, Brock Lesnar, more famous.
Yeah.
And most recently, who I want to pick your brain about, Ronda Rousey has joined the WWE. So how do you feel about that bridge between like bringing people in that are from like another sport into like top echelon famed WWE, or even like Brock Lesnar, for example, going to MMA and kind of like bouncing back and forth? Do you think that kind of diminishes the amount of work that everyone else kind of puts in to get to where they want to be? Or do you think that like it kind of doesn't matter, like everybody gets there?
I think that if the person they're putting out there, like I think if they're delivering a good product, I'm for it. Like I don't, like I said, wrestling isn't fair. Some people don't have to work a bunch to get to that point. Ronda just headlined WrestleMania,
which was yesterday.
Yeah, which was yesterday. Yeah. So, and she didn't have to put in the years that the two other girls had to in order to get to that point. And I think that seems like unfair to a lot of people, but I just think if you're delivering, I don't have a problem with it. If she wasn't delivering, then I would be like, that sucks. Yeah. But she's delivering, so you can't be mad at that. Like, she's delivering.
Yeah.
You can't be mad at her. And she put in years of work before that
She worked hard at something else.
Yeah, it wasn't that she just like walked off the street and, So I don't have an issue with it. When I heard that she was going to be a part of it, I was like, oh, I don't know how that's going to work. Yeah. But then she delivered, and I was like, okay, I'm cool with it. Like, I can't be mad at that.
Totally. I think the same thing goes with, like, comedians. Like, Brendan Schaub from the Fire and the Kid podcast, we were talking about them, T-Fat-K. He was originally at MMA, and then he transitioned into comedy. And he ended up doing really well in comedy really quick. And he always talks about how some other comedians will kind of be like, oh yeah, how long did it take you to become a comedian? Oh yeah, I've been at it for like 12 years and I still don't have a special. Meanwhile, like Brendan Schaub has a special, he's like touring, he's getting bigger. But what those comedians don't really think about is the fact that Brendan built an audience in another platform. Through MMA, and then slowly through the podcast, and then built his way into comedy. Yeah. So he maybe took a back road, right? But his road was just as difficult. For example, it's just in a different way.
Yeah,
right?
I think that people need to understand that like everyone's journey is different, and like that's just what panned out for him. Like, and if you've been I don't know. I just think it's not smart to compare. You know what I mean? Like there's people who've been wrestling as long as me who are in the WWE, and if I was going to focus on the fact, like, well, why am I not there? You know, like that's not going to help me at all.
Totally.
So I don't have any issue with that. Like that's not what my journey looks like. That's just not what it looks like. So that's fine, because then if I'm trying to be these other people, it just doesn't make any sense.
So let's say you wanted to get into the WWE. Let's say that was your
end game.
What would you have to do to get there? Like, what's the process that...
Well, they hold tryouts. I know that you can, like, send stuff in. You can send, like, an application in with, like, I don't know, like, photos and, like, promo videos. And, you know, you can send them a bunch of stuff. And they hold tryouts, like, every... I don't know how often, but they hold tryouts. And, yeah.
Have you...
No, I have not reached out. Because the WWE is, like... They kind of own you a little bit in terms of, like, once you get there, it's, like, up to them what you do and how your story plays out and everything. And I'm not solid enough in my character development, or, like, I want to, like, really know who Sloan is, like, 100% before I'm going to give away my rights to them. You know what I mean? Because then if my following is solid and my character is solid, well, they'll just go with that. You know, they're not going to try to change me a bunch. Whereas if I go in with, like, kind of an idea, then they're going to take it and make it what they want it to be and not what I want it to be.
Okay. So how do you develop character? Like, how does
just experience
work?
It's like comedy. You just go out, you do a show, and whatever works, you go with that. Like, you just, it's all experience. You got to just keep doing shows, and eventually things are going to click. And it might take years to get there, but it's really like comedy in that way.
Yeah, because we talked earlier about a bit of a transformation in your character, right?
When I did the documentary, I kind of just had to, like, speed up. It was like the process had to be sped up, so I had no idea what I wanted. And I was just kind of, like, guessing at that point. And then when I started when I took a break and then I started wrestling again, I was like, that's not me at all. And so I kind of, you know, through the process of, I didn't even know what I wanted to wear for gear. Like, up until recently, I was, like, kind of just mixing and matching a bunch of different gear and, like, sports bras and fish, like, just mixing it all together to see what worked. And then out of nowhere, I just thought, like, oh, snakeskin. Like, not a lot of people wear snakeskin. So, and that was it. And I have my favorite outfit I've ever had right now. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
So where do you get your outfits? Do you just, like, buy random stuff, or do you get...
No, I had it made. Okay. Yeah, so there's this girl...
Is that costly, or what?
Well, there's this girl, like, she's a burlesque dancer, actually.
Okay.
Her name is Melody Mangler.
Yeah.
She makes, like, wrestling gear and burlesque clothes, and so she's kind of, like, around the scene. So she just made my stuff. Nice. I had to pay for it, obviously, pay for the whole thing, but she kind of helped. She's made so many things that she kind of knows, like, you just come in with, like, a rough idea and she'll, like, kind of help you get there.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long does that process take usually?
Oh, she can whip stuff up pretty fast if you have a solid idea, but, like, with me, I just brought her the material and I was, like, kind of slowly figured it out with her because I had, like, no idea what I wanted it to look like. So it took like a couple months.
Okay.
But yeah, you just gotta buy the material. And I know that you can, like, send ideas to different companies and they'll, like, make your gear and send it, but I like to, like, be more hands-on because I'm like, I don't know that that's gonna fit me, and I don't want to pay for something that's gonna not fit me exactly how I want it to fit.
Totally. And you probably have to try on that.
Oh, I had to, like, we had, like, a lot of fittings.
Because, like, you know, you're jumping, you're bending, you want to make sure it, like,
everything,
flexes and...
Yeah,
right?
and everything, like, stays where it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Have you ever had, like, something not stay where it should?
I think I had a close call once.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a close call once. And ever since then, I've taped everything in. Yeah.
That's awesome. I guess trials and tribulations that you learn along the way.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so what about the whole, I guess, like aerodynamic and gymnastic side of things. Like, do you go and take like some gymnastic course, or like you know
I did gymnastics as a kid.
Aerials, or
well, it just depends what kind of wrestler you are. Like, I'm not a high flyer.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done stuff off the top rope, but I'm not like a crazy flippy high flyer wrestler. That's not my thing.
Okay. So what's your thing?
Power moves.
That's it? You're just gonna slam?
I like a brawling type of wrestling, like strikes,
gritty.
like
a little
no,
gritty?
oh gritty, yeah, gritty, yeah, like strikes and power moves. That's like, those are my faves.
Okay, so you don't jump off ropes or anything?
I have and I do, but I'm not like known for that. That's not like.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I like to stay on the ground a little bit.
Do you just go to get the exposure?
It's mostly just to get exposure and experience. Like that is what I'm getting from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still super early on for it to have any sort of financial gain.
Okay.
Most wrestlers get their financial gain by like selling merch. So like the t-shirts or like whatever they come up with. Yeah, so it's I'm not doing, at this point, it's not about the money. Usually, like, they've flown in one, like, there's one wrestler that's getting paid more than everybody, you know? Okay. But when you're at my level, it's like you're getting whatever's left over, basically. You're getting the scraps, yeah.
So how do you move past that? Like, how do you move up? It's just keep putting in time.
You just keep putting in time. Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta find an actual job, like, a consistent paycheck that kind of supports your dream until you get to do it full time. Okay. It's like the same with comedy.
Yeah.
It's really similar to comedy.
Speaking of supporting, and that's why I asked you whether it was more theatrics. You know what I mean? Like art versus sport.
Well, I would say that it's both.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of, like, that's what I want to bring to the ring. It's both.
Totally. Yeah, you know what you should do I'm not one to tell you what to do because I know nothing about the wrestling industry. But I really think if you had, like, a YouTube channel, like a wrestling themed YouTube... I'm not even joking.
No, you're not joking.
Throw in, like, a podcast in there every now and then and mainly focus on, like, I don't know, maybe even doing, like, pro wrestling training videos or something, you know, where you teach a move or whatever, and you go about that. I think you'd get a shit ton of exposure. Consider it, because YouTube is the second largest search from Google. Did you know that?
That makes sense.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, how do I build this or how do I do that? And they need a video, you know?
I would want to do something other than showing wrestling moves, though.
Yeah, just like in general, you know, like putting more out there, content, providing value, and then seeing the benefit, right? The return post.
Like, I've thought of, like, doing something, like, in character. Like, like Sloan just doing, like, regular stuff.
Yeah, do that. Seriously, I would watch that. I don't even like wrestling. Because it would be, like, you could even, like, play it off like a vlogger, you know? Like, Sloan's vlogging. Or, like, you could even do, like, a cooking thing where you're baking some shit. You know what I mean? Like, you could you could play it in this character.
Yeah.
And then it shows your character.
Yeah.
And then at the end you can be like, by the way, come catch me at the ECCW. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Match in Vancouver on this day.
Yeah.
Will come. You'd get a shit ton of subscribers so far. All of the pro wrestling watchers, they're on YouTube, not like...
Yeah. I've thought of that because I was like, I was thinking, you know, because I'm not that good at the social media thing, but I was like thinking of doing like videos of like in character stuff.
100%. I think like don't think about it. Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
I just gotta come up with some ideas.
And just see, right? Just like go from there, and you could adjust and adapt and like add more. Like you don't have to just do one thing. As content goes.
Yeah.
But you could Like, you could play that, and I think that's something that's not probably played as much.
It's not really done.
Pros. Yeah, it's not really done, right?
No, it's not really done.
Yeah, and I mean, I forget his name. I think it's Andrew something. He was just recently on the Comedy podcast, and they were talking about how he was waiting on Netflix to give him a special, and they would, and he's like, fuck that. His friend's like,
I think I know about this.
On YouTube? Why don't you post it on YouTube? So he started posting like 5-minute clips of his set in YouTube, and it turns out that people would watch it, but then they would watch the next one and the next one and the next one. So then he realized, he's like, forget Netflix, forget this. I'm going to put my entire special on YouTube in 5 to 10 minute segments, and people will watch that. And sure enough, it worked. So he was telling that to the Fighter and the Kid podcast. Guess what happens 2 weeks later? Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub start putting out their sets in 5-10 minute segments on the Fighter and the Kid YouTube channel. Because they're trying it out now too. So it would make sense because, like, you gain a fan base that way that you didn't have before.
Right.
You gotta understand, when you go do your shows, it's only the people who see you there that see you.
Yeah.
Or the people that hear about, right, and see your name on the event.
Yeah.
Slip. But if you could expand that to YouTube, and then suddenly one day, Vince McMahon does see you, or one of the other wrestlers. I'm not even joking.
No, I know.
Brendan Schaub likes my post. A Fighter and the Kid put my photo on their Instagram. You know what I mean? They're there too. Like, they see your shit and they make sure you know. Mm-hmm. So, like, you'd easily get, I think, a few pro fans from that that will follow you just simply based on, oh, this girl's doing some cool stuff, you know? Mm-hmm. I could definitely consider that.
No, because I was like, I wanted to, like, do something in character on my, like, Instagram, but I'm so bad at the social media thing. It's, like, so bad. But YouTube would make more sense because then they're, like, it's more controlled, you know, more thought put into it. It's not just so, like, in and out.
Totally. And what I do, I'll give you another tidbit, is I'll take, like, my full episodes and I put them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or whatever videos I make. But then I do Instagram TV short clips, or I put in my Instagram shorter, tiny clips of whatever I made. Mm-hmm. Right? And that helps too. But yeah, I mean, because you could reach a bunch of people that you don't already reach that are actually, like, top echelon people that are looking into that stuff anyway. You'll pop up on the feed without even trying. Mm-hmm. It'd be really interesting. I'd subscribe. I'm not even a wrestling fan, and I'm not just saying that. But yeah, it's crazy how social media can. Yeah, no, it's definitely play a good
I've been thinking about it, so, like, thinking about, like, introducing something like that. So we'll see.
Okay, so training. Tell me more.
What,
like, working out? What's a train? What's
a week look like?
Maybe not a week, but what's, like, I guess you must do sets of things, weightlifting, you must do some cardio stuff, right? So is it a lot of, like, working out stuff, or is it a lot more in the ring?
No, I'm at the gym, like, 5 days a week. And then I train, like, go to training, like, once or twice a week. Just depending. But yeah, like I said, like, with wrestling, like, you want to be consistent with training, but you're going to get your experience from being on shows. Yeah. So, the gym is, like, the main thing for me. I'm in there 5 days a week minimum. Yeah.
Okay.
Heavy lifting is my main thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I don't do a ton of cardio. Like deadlifts, squats, like, you know, compound lifts, like big, heavy lifting is my...
How much can you lift?
I don't know.
Come on. And be real.
Deadlift, 225.
What? That's crazy. Okay,
that's really not that crazy.
No, for me, that's crazy. Okay? Because I don't even think I could lift my own body weight, which is like 160.
Oh, we weigh the same amount.
Okay. Is that bad?
No. Like a regular person should be able to deadlift their own weight. You can't deadlift your own weight. Well, then that's something you need to work on.
I hurt my back. I have an excuse. So I haven't been working out as much. But I do have weights, like on the other side of this thing. And I have a punching bag that I never punch because it hurts my hand.
Yeah.
I'm being serious. But I used to work out. So Graham, he remember I was telling you about the trainer? Graham's a trainer, and he works with people who are in, they're doing physique and bodybuilding. So we always would work out in a small set of groups, and sometimes I'd be working out with these girls who were 5'0", like 100 pounds. And I'd be like, oh, okay, cool, easy day, whatever. And then he's just racking up, 100 pounds on each side of this what's this one called? Bench press?
Yeah.
Yeah. And fuck, this girl, this little Asian girl, just plowing through it like it's nothing. And I can't even do one. I'm struggling, and this is me in my good, I'm in good shape and everything. I'm and it blew my mind. Mm-hmm. It literally blew my mind.
It takes a long time to get there, though. Like I said, when I first started wrestling, I thought I was in shape, and I realized I was not. Yeah. It's a never-ending, it's just never-ending. You just keep getting stronger and stronger. It's I don't know how to explain it, but it's a process like anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting stronger and stronger, steroids. Not to say that we're getting into you using steroids, but when it comes to the WWE, we know Brock Lesnar's juiced up. We know Batista is probably juiced up. Triple H, I've seen him before, back in the day, and now even Vince McMahon and his son now look super juiced up. We can't sit here and pretend that they've just worked out a lot and taken protein powders and stuff like that. So that's something that's, necessary to move into that realm? Or is it something
it's actually, not, you're,
frowned upon?
It's, no, when you're in the indie scene, I know a lot of guys that have done it and a couple girls. But WWE, claims that none of their talent, because they've got a strict policy on it, but there's loopholes that they have. So if you're not a full-time, if you're not there wrestling full-time there, then you can, I think, get away with it. But they have drug testing and everything. So most of the wrestlers aren't on anything. Okay. Yeah. It used to be like that back in the day, but not anymore.
Are you sure? Because they look
but they're not full-time wrestlers.
Okay.
They're not. Brock Lesnar's not on every show. True. So I have no idea. I know that it is possible to be jacked without steroids, but to me I can tell the difference between someone who's naturally just jacked and someone who's not. But yeah,
I feel I can tell that too, and I feel I look at WWE and I see 90 of the 90.
No, I think it's possible to be jacked without steroids.
It's got to be.
It is possible.
Their genes.
Yeah, but right? It's also it's genes. It's working out. What I used to look like to now, I'm way more muscular now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the further I go, the more muscular I'm probably going to get.
Of course. But there's a difference between being muscular and there's a difference between being expansive. Your chest
trying to think of a good example.
Even TRT, a lot of times, it increases the stomach size.
Right.
So one way you could tell if
Batista, for sure, back in the day, Batista was 100%. He's steroid for sure. Yeah. If you saw him last night on WrestleMania, you wouldn't think that. Okay. But it's, I don't know. I feel there's a difference, but it is possible to be especially the dudes that are just naturally big. Some dudes are big and they're not all on steroids. Yeah. Some of them are, but not all of them. Yeah.
Is that a controversial thing with it? If somebody's taking it is it a
That's
little
their
more
choice.
Yeah, I know, but like to other wrestlers, is it more frowned upon, or is it kind of like, oh, you're only like, you're taking the easy way? You know what I mean? Like, do other wrestlers tend to have?
To me, I find it like it's their choice. I don't have anything against it. It doesn't, I'm like, I personally wouldn't want to like do that to my body and I wouldn't want to do that. But that's, totally. That's what it, that's their choice to make. Yeah. I don't care.
Is it talked about often between everybody, or is it kind of just like hush hush and?
No, I think, it's talked about like it's like no big deal for I've heard lots of guys talk about it. It's a pretty normal thing. Yeah. For the dudes, like I think I've only ever met one girl that did it. Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on early death of wrestlers? Early age death of wrestlers. I'm talking like WWE. I'm not saying in the small, like,
right,
independent wrestling community this is a thing, but we know that for a fact, based on history, a lot of pro wrestlers tend to die at a younger age, being like 50 this, 40 that, 60 whatever.
Well, I think that steroids were way more rampant back in the day. Like, everyone was doing it, right? Yeah. So, like, I think that has a huge part of it. Like, I think that when you take the statistics from the past, like, in the future when those statistics are taken, what's with the wrestlers that are, like, now active now, it's going to be a different number. Like, it's not going to be the same thing. So I think, like, if you look at the past, those dudes were on steroids, drinking and doing drugs and being crazy and whatever. Like, that was just part of the lifestyle. I think it's more consistent now for a lot of wrestlers to lead a healthier lifestyle. Yeah. So I think that number is going to look a lot different in the future. I just think for the most part, we all take care of ourselves more than they did. Yeah. And so, like, the numbers look scary now, but it's like, I don't think it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, I saw, I think it was a mini documentary, or at least part of a series, about Razor Ramon, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like, went from, like, powerhouse-looking dude, and he's older now, so obviously he's not going to look like ripped six-pack like crazy, but he did get into a point where he was, like, in a really bad part of his life, health-wise. Mm-hmm.
It's because they didn't take care of themselves. Like, they just did not. Yeah. And they're wrestling every night. And then on top of that, when you're wrestling every night and you're, juiced up and drinking and doing drugs and partying and God knows what else, like, yeah, that's the end result. Like, that's what's going to happen. But then there's wrestlers who did, like DDP. He's a great example of, like, being healthy after, like, he's healthy and fit and can move around like no big deal. Like, it's just, if you don't take care of yourself, and I think that a lot of those wrestlers, when they get injured and they just don't, like, deal with it the way that they need to deal with it, it just, can end up bad for them in the future.
He's not just a good example as far as his own health, but doesn't he do, like, some yoga training now?
DDP yoga, like, that's he's brand. It's like,
he helped some dude, like, who couldn't walk. Get lean and, like, end up, I think he could do, like, headstands and stuff. Yeah, you guys gotta see this video. I'll put it in, like, the top screen.
I've seen that video.
It could make you cry. It didn't make me cry, but
it could make you cry for sure. I think I probably cried. Yeah,
it's I'm like a crier. One of those videos where you look at it and you're like, okay, if this guy can do this, I can do anything. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it really motivates you to understand that, like, you can
anything is possible, basically.
Yeah, you can go from shitty health or not being able to walk or whatever it is. Like, as long as you put your mind to something, eventually you'll get to this place. I think DDP was on Joe Rogan talking about that too.
It's like his. I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's like his whole thing.
It's really cool.
Yoga.
Yeah, it's cool to see examples of good, like wrestlers that are do-gooders outside of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I assume DDP is retired now.
Yeah, no, he doesn't wrestle anymore.
He doesn't wrestle anymore. So it's good to see like that he's doing something outside of that, because a lot of times you hear about wrestlers that finish their career and then it's kind of like they ride off into the sunset and that's about it. But he's staying relevant in different ways.
Yeah.
In a very health-conscious way. Where you wouldn't expect that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, that statistic of wrestlers dying early is like, it's a real thing. But at the same time, I don't think anyone takes into account like all the different factors that make that the reality. Like, and just today, it's just not the same thing today. It's just not the same thing.
What about injuries on site? So like getting injured in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, even as far as we've seen deaths in the WWE with like Owen Hart, and I don't know if there have been any others. That's just one that stands out.
Not any deaths that I can think of.
Okay, other than Owen Hart.
Yeah.
He definitely did die in the ring.
Yeah.
But that was, I think, during a practice.
No.
Oh, it was live.
It was a show, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought it was before the show. Like they were like doing warm up or something. You look it up and I'll keep talking. But he did definitely pass away.
It was during a pay-per-view.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I didn't know it was live.
Yeah, no, it was a pay-per-view.
That's insane. So what did they? I mean, I didn't watch it, so I don't.
I think that they just cut to commercial. I think that's what happened.
Pull them out and that's it.
Yeah.
See, once again, I don't want to assume, but is there like a bit of like mental stability issues in some fighters?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I think like, you know, especially in those days, like, you know, it was very common that you just had to work through your injuries and not really take any time off, and taking time off was such a no-no and all that stuff. But now it's not really like that. You know, you get injured and it's like people want you to take time off because it's just not good for anybody. Because if you're working a match and you're injured, the chances of you know, injuring your opponent are so high because you're not at your best. Yeah. And so people don't want that. People don't want to work with someone that's injured. So it's not really like that anymore. And the WWE, like, if you get injured, you're off. Like, you're taking time off.
Yeah.
You have to be like cleared. I think like over time it's slowly changed to be that way, but like I know that they've like worked their wrestlers to the bone when they shouldn't have a lot of times. But I think it's like changing for the better now. Yeah,
I think that's the case with many sports.
Yeah.
Football,
because head injuries are like so scary to people now. It's just like, that's not...
Yeah.
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 Like,
Football,
you can tell when someone's had too many head injuries.
Of course.
Like, it's... Yeah, there's
like you don't see it until, like...
It's too late.
Yeah, they're much older. Suddenly they're, like, stuttering in speach or slurring.
To me, I can see it in the eyes.
Really?
Yeah, I can see it in the eyes.
What's in their eyes?
There's, like... It's almost like... I don't know. It's like a darkness of some kind. Like, it's just like... Something in them has died. Like, that's how I feel.
Okay.
Like, I don't really know how else
they're
to
dead on the inside.
Not they're dead on the inside, but, you know, they've had enough head injuries that, like, you're not a full person at that point anymore. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, a part of you...
maybe they don't show emotion, or...
Yeah, something like that. Like, there's a disconnect of some kind. I'm not sure how to explain it. So
the Vancouver scene... Is it quite large in general, or like, do you feel like it would be better if you were down in LA, for example, or you were in Chicago? I definitely like this. I'm not going to be making a career out of wrestling here. Like, it's just not going to happen. So like, I want to get my visa and I want to move down to the States eventually. Yeah, that would be the goal. I don't know where. Okay. I'm not like set on a certain place. It just depends really, like, who's interested in having me on their shows consistently, because I definitely want to live
where I'm going to be able to work consistently and I can travel around as well. But like where I'm going to be for the most part, I would like to, because I'm a homebody. I really like to be at home. Yeah.
I hear you. What about like, I don't know, agents, managers? Like, are those ways that you could get ahead? Do wrestlers even have that kind of like,
no,
you know,
not really. I think you could have a manager maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not really the same.
Or promoter.
Like once you get to a certain point, you can have someone like book your shows for you, or like have a booker of some kind. But no, you kind of do your own thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because comedians have.
Yeah, but comedians are more similar to actors.
Yeah.
Than wrestlers are. Yeah, it's a different game.
I figure wrestlers, especially if there's circuits all over.
Well, I think once you get to a certain point, like people reach out to you to get booked, and you don't have to reach out anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just starts out like you reach out. Sometimes people reach out to you, and then like the further along you get, then people will reach out to you.
That's where you're at now, or
people reach out to me. I still reach out though.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would say it's like 50-50.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I know I'm going to have like a free weekend, I like try to find a show for that weekend.
Okay. What was your most memorable fight?
There's been a couple. Like the one that first came to mind is probably my first match back after taking time off. I was on a show called Glam Slam, which is a half burlesque, half wrestling show that they run at the Wise Hall every few months. And I was on that show, but the story was Elsie, the Lady's Choice, this wrestler. He's like in his 40s or whatever. He's like been wrestling for like 20 years, right? He comes out, he cuts a promo where he's like just shitting on women and like just being really misogynistic and whatever. And I'm in the crowd. And then he like challenges whatever woman to like, you know, and then I stand up and we battle it out. But yeah, that was my first match back after taking time off. And that was his first match against a woman in his 20 years of wrestling. Oh, wow. Yeah. And it was really, really good. Like people were wanting me to fuck him up. Yeah. No, it was that. I would say that was, it was like the perfect first match back.
So did you fuck him up or what?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So did you win?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, that was a good time.
That's legit.
Yeah.
That's a good plot right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, people are just going to get behind that. Like, so he was being so misogynistic. People are going to hate that.
Yeah, 100%. That's amazing. I like that. I didn't think that they did that ever.
What do you mean?
Is that common?
What?
Male versus female matches?
Oh, yeah. It's a big thing. Yeah. Intergender wrestling.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a belt for that too?
In some promotions.
Gender champion.
It's a big thing. Like, look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, intergender wrestling. It's like, I've had a couple matches with dudes.
Nice.
It's more common in indie wrestling than televised.
I hear you.
Because the general population feels weird about that. But yeah, if it makes sense, I'm into it.
Okay. It's like the most popular wrestling city, would you say? You know what I mean? Where the circuit's just super big. You know, they're always selling out, whether it be independent or a WWE type event. Do you know what I mean? Like, is there one city that's like wrestling capital of the world, you know?
Well, it's big in Florida because that's where like the WWE's like headquarters are.
Yeah.
So I think like in Florida is pretty big, but I'd say it's like pretty big in a lot of places. Like it's not, I can't really think of a specific spot that would be, I would say Florida probably. It's really big in Japan. Like Japan, it's probably like the biggest.
Yeah. Japan is crazy when it comes to any fighting. Whether it be real or fake or whatever. Yeah.
But it's like, it's all over the world. Like you could, you know, there's lots of places you could go. It's, yeah.
Have you thought about going overseas?
I definitely want to go to Japan for sure. At some point, like that would definitely be a goal of mine because it's really out of my comfort zone, and so I just feel like it's something I would have, I would need to do.
They would love you out there.
Yeah.
You could
That's
go
what
to
I keep getting told.
You could go to Japan. You could not even wrestle. You could just go to Japan. There's I forget the name of the station and the city, but there's one city that has like a main train station.
Okay.
And if you go there and you just stand there, you'll get approached by like modeling agency reps. And they'll give you their card and they'll be like, yo, model for us, blah, 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 blah. My friend Richard, Richard is not a model. But not to say he's bad looking, because he's not bad looking. But he's, right? But he's not a model. Yeah. But they love, like, different ethnicities there. So when they could get talent like that to just do a photo shoot for, like, clothing or whatever, they are all about it. So my buddy Richard just happened to go to Japan, and he didn't know this. He had no idea. And he happened to be at that train station. He was walking, and some Asian guy stopped him and said, oh, like, and gave him the spiel and gave him his card. And he's like, what the fuck? He thought it was kind of like weird. Yeah. So he sees these other Asian dudes, like, nearby, and he's like, hey, like, somebody gave me this card, like, is this legit or what? They're like, oh yeah, this happens all the time here. Like, you call that number, they'll book you a gig, you'll go for like half a day or one day. Anyway, he goes and does it, calls, sure enough, he gets a gig, does some modeling for half a day, paid off his trip. So, I'm going to find out what station
That's crazy.
And I'm pretty sure if he got approached, it would not take you very long to get somebody to come up to you and be like, come do a modeling session with us. And he kept their card, so his plan is like to go back and call them when he goes back again. Because literally his entire trip got paid for. Flight and hotel, done. He spent like 1 or 2 days just doing some work. So now he knows, and now he's like, oh shit, like I
can just go to Japan. Yeah,
anytime he goes to Japan, he does that. So definitely, like, I highly recommend you do that. And I highly recommend you go to that station and you wait 5 or 10 minutes and you get approached. Yeah, that
that sounds crazy, but also
it's legit. Yeah, and you'll get it done. I will for sure find out.
Sweet.
The location.
I'm definitely gonna go at some point, and in the near-ish future.
Yeah, definitely do that. Anywhere else you want to travel in general, or what?
I mean, anywhere, really. Like, I want to just wrestle. So, like, wherever's going to have me, I'm down. Down to see some new places, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, there's nowhere I mean...
What about outside of wrestling? Just places you want to go?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really, I don't know. I feel like I want to go everywhere. I don't really have, a place where I'm like, I want to go there. Okay. It's never, You
just want to check everything out.
Yeah. 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 I'd say, my favorite spot I've been to so far is Belize.
A lot of people tell me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my favorite. Yeah, and, the people are really, really nice.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah. So friendly and yeah, it's a chill, good time.
Yeah, my favorite place in the entire world, to visit at least, is Amsterdam. Okay. And a lot of people, because of the weed. That's not why I love Amsterdam. I love Amsterdam because it reminds me so much of Vancouver, but without mountains, and instead of mountains, you have canals everywhere. It's the type of people. It's so multicultural. It just, everywhere I look, I kind of see the feel and vibe of Vancouver. And the same thing, weather is kind of always cloudy or rainy for the most part. But it's just the most amazing city. So anytime I go to Europe, the first place I stop, because it's a transfer airport, I'll go to Amsterdam for a few days or a week, and then I'll go to Spain or Paris or whatever from there. But Amsterdam, definitely. Have you been there before?
No.
Oh, you gotta go. Well, maybe you don't gotta go, but you should.
I want to. Yeah, I want to.
That and Barcelona. Barcelona won my heart as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The
I went to Europe, a couple places in Europe when I was like super young, but I was too young to like appreciate it, you know?
You gotta go now.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, one day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one day, for sure.
I wonder how elaborate the wrestling community is in places like Spain, though.
I know that it's like in England there's lots, and like I think there's like a scene in Scotland and maybe a couple other places. I don't know about Spain.
It's crazy.
I'm gonna go pee.
Go pee.
I can't. I really can't have it.
Really? But what did you do before gluten-free was a thing?
I was constantly having trouble going. Like when I was a kid, if I had to go to the bathroom, I had to go home.
What?
Yeah. Like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so gluten-free is a thing.
Yeah. People think it's like, I'm like, no, if I have it, my stomach will go out to here and I'll like not be able to go to the bathroom for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, my friend Jenna makes gluten-free baked goods. Would you be down for some carbs? Maybe I'll get her to hook you up. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I'll eat gluten-free stuff for sure. It's not like I'm not avoiding the carbs. It's just if I have gluten, it'll fuck me up.
Okay, fair.
But just like yeah, I don't know what it is because I can eat it and I'm not gonna die.
Yeah.
I'll just be uncomfortable for like a week.
That's funny. The same thing happens to me, but with flaxseed. If I have flax, actually going back to Amsterdam, I went to Amsterdam.
It's probably because they weren't. They still had their, like the what is it called?
I don't know.
Because like the seeds are like when they're not like soaked.
Yeah.
They still have like because that's happened to me with flax seeds too, but it was because they were whole flax seeds. They weren't like broken down. I know you break them down in a certain way. So if they haven't been broken down, they'll mess you up. That should happen to me too. So
the first time I realized was I went to Amsterdam for the first time and I was doing couch surfing to save money, which was the first time I was doing it. It was awesome. I was in Utrecht, which is like a university city, like just outside of Amsterdam, just like chilling. And I was in a house full of females, so it was me and like 6 girls, and each floor there was 2 girls, and I was in the middle suite with these 2 girls. And they had baked a carrot cake the day I had arrived for my arrival. So I had never, like, carrot cake. I had a piece and then I had a second half piece. It was delicious. And then I'm sleeping on this girl's floor next to her bed, and I felt like my stomach was gonna explode. Yeah. Like I needed to fart so bad. And I'm not like I don't fart in front of people. Yeah. Like even my girlfriends, they get mad at me because they're like, just fucking rip one so I can rip one. Like they don't, you know what I mean? They don't want to be the first farter, right? And they always are. I do not fart. You never break? I do not. That's funny. I would rather let my stomach blow up. So, I'm in Utrecht and we're sleeping and I'm like, holy shit, like if I like sleep, if I don't go to the bathroom right now to just like let some gas out, it's gonna be a problem. So I had to get up 4 times over the course of the night to pass mass gas. And that's and I didn't know it was from the flaxseed at the time, but then I started eating other things with flaxseed in it,
and it was happening again.
And, it just gets so bad. It's like the equivalent of you with gluten. Yeah, it's what I experienced with flaxseed. So yeah, it was not good, but I did good. I like was in the bathroom, did my thing. Like it was just really like hefty.
That same thing happened with me and flax seeds. I was having them in my oatmeal every morning, and then all of a sudden, like, I looked pregnant. Like I had to like camouflage. I had to dress and like camouflage it because it really looked like I was pregnant, and I was like, what is happening? I went to like the doctor. I went to the hospital one time because it was like really bad and painful because it's just like my stomach's like out to here all of a sudden. And I was like, okay, it's got to be something I'm eating because like what else would it be? And so I just started to like, what's new? And that was the only thing. that was new, and I was like, it was such a small thing, you know what I mean? I was like, how could it be that? But the second I stopped eating it,
it looks harmless as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm a little seed.
Yeah.
No, motherfucker. You're an explosion in my stomach that can't wait to be released over and over and over
bad.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they have to be like soaked or like broken down in some way before you consume it.
Yeah.
Like that's the key.
Okay.
Because I've had flaxseeds since, but they've been like...
Okay, yeah, I think
because when you buy like raw whole flax seeds,
yeah,
if you're eating something or it hasn't been broken down, like you're screwed.
If I ever want to fuck somebody up, like
I
want to ruin their life, I'm gonna give you a teaspoon of flax seeds somehow. I'm just gonna like forget like putting poison in their food. Like that's an easy way out. Give them flaxseed, let them fucking experience that shit. That's all I have to say about that. But yeah, any other final words, comments, anything that I missed that you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Any shows coming up?
Probably the best way to keep up with that would be my Instagram, because I post a lot of what I'm doing on my Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
@theonlysloan.
That's right. So make sure you follow her at the only. Do you have Twitter or anything?
Yeah,
Facebook?
but I'm barely on Twitter.
Facebook group, I mean. Page?
Instagram's the way to go.
Instagram. Do you have a website?
No, I don't.
You should get a website and you should sell merch on the website.
Yeah. I should do a lot of things.
It's easy. I'll shoot Squarespace.
Okay.
Squarespace?
Yeah.
Super easy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
You pay
I haven't even come up with merch yet, though.
I don't. Yeah, one thing at a time. Get
one
the
thing.
website
Yeah.
up, put the store in after that.
Yeah.
Announce it on your Instagram, and then start wearing your merch.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I wasn't gonna make merch for the podcast, but everyone I've had on so far is like, "Oh, that's cool. Do you have any merch?" And I'm like, "No." Like, damn, I'd really want something. So now I'm doing mugs and beanies for now, and then I'm gonna I'm not doing it to make money or whatever. I'm just gonna do it, and if it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't, I'm just gonna give stuff away and stuff. Like every guest is gonna get a
mug.
beanie and a
You're
mug.
saying,
yeah, together, things like that. So it's just like I think you have to put it out there first. You know?
Yeah.
And then people will respond.
Yeah.
Right? But if you don't have it, then obviously you're not going to sell it.
And especially if people are like, oh, where is it? And you're like, oh, shit. Like, I should have something up. Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it until my second or third guest, looked at it. Oh, do you have anything I could, get of that? Like a beanie or a hat? I'm like, no, but maybe, and then I started thinking about it.
I like the logo for sure. Like it would be cool, yeah.
So actually, the story of that is actually interesting. Remember, I was telling you about my buddy Richard.
Yeah.
So I did that in reflection of his style.
Yeah.
Of art, but obviously he's way more
intricate.
Intricate and in depth. I very much simplified. That style. Not that I'm not taking his style or whatever, but kind of like
you're inspired by.
Yeah, his work is really inspirational. So
yeah,
maybe one day I'll have him on the podcast. We'll see. But yeah, no final words. Anything else?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
What do people normally say at the end of the podcast?
Nothing. They just say their social media, what they're doing next, where people can find them. If they want to buy tickets to something, they can buy tickets.
Yeah, I would just say follow me on Instagram.
Follow her on Instagram, The Only Sloan, on Instagram. Keep up to date with the shows that are coming up. She'll be around Vancouver and the island. I myself, you can follow me on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram as well. Or I'm actually launching the nofuncity YouTube channel eventually. So right now all the videos are on my personal channel. Eventually they will be both on my personal channel and on the nofuncity channel. Be sure to hit subscribe and comment Kagwama. If you don't know how to spell it, it's right there in your face. For your chance to win these reels separately. So this is not part of the 100 subscriber contest that I have going on. We did surpass 200, so I'll be giving away that 10 tree hat and the comic book in the upcoming videos that I'll be doing. And we are now on our way to 300 subscribers. And when we get there, we'll be doing another subscriber giveaway. Ariane, thank you so much for coming out, taking the time to do this.
Yeah, man.
Much
thank you for having me.
One day when you're like either done with all this or when you're top echelon, some sort of championship like wrestler or whatever, we got to have you back with that belt.
Deal.
And
Deal.
Get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. This is the end of the No Fun City podcast. Peace out. Today's episode of No Fun City is brought to you by Roots of Fight. Check them out at rootsoffight.com and be sure to hit subscribe for your chance to win an awesome prize pack.